Hello members, K-Kim here. Today is August 23rd, Tuesday. Market has been closed about an hour and a half. Hope you guys are enjoying your Tuesday. Seems like the fall weather's coming. I can feel it in the wind and winding down in our summertime here. And well, the market has been continuing to grind. And so we really haven't seen a breakout of that Bollinger Bands we've been talking about. You guys remember we've been talking about that. So looking at S&P 500 index here. Let's see. Okay, so we've been talking about this Bollinger Bands squeeze, right? Obviously, this is a minor term sentiment analysis when we look at Bollinger Band here on the daily chart. And we're actually looking at S&P 500 index. And we've been just squeezing here, pretty much moving sideways. And ADX is pretty much mopping the floor here, 1844. So this is, ADX is basically telling us that it is well rested. And obviously we can tell that price action has been just very, very grindy. So the ADX is completely rested. So the stock is now ready to move. The question is, will it move to the upside or will it move to the downside? An answer to that question nobody knows, but I can certainly try to ascertain possible scenario, but the probability of the direction, right? So looking at it, obviously, you know, we have to understand the fact that we are still working with intermediate term uptrend here with the higher lows and higher highs. Looks very, very healthy at this point. We're staying above all-time high. We're all-time high on the S&P 500 index. We're all-time high on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We're all-time high. Here, I'll just show you the chart here. We're all-time high. We're hanging around at a record high, all-time historical record high on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. We're staying up above all-time high, record high on the NASDAQ Composite, as you can see right there last week or so. And then finally, Wilshire 5000 been staying above record high, all-time high. So we're seeing all of these indices starting to kind of endorse each other on its move, and others are following. Obviously, we still have Russell 2000 haven't created or haven't printed all-time high yet. We have a New York Stock Exchange. Oh, of course, semiconductor made a new highs, not all-time high, but the new record highs, new highs there, and then transport still lagging. So we have a few indices still lagging. However, that's not a problem because Russell 2000 obviously been doing very, very well, right? Russell 2000 have cultivated very, very healthy intermediate term uptrend. We have this very, very healthy looking reversal pattern, which is inverted head and shoulder here, left shoulder here, head, right shoulder. That's a reversal candle or reversal pattern to the upside there. So even though Russell 2000 have not printed all-time high, it looks very, very strong. Looks like it is going to soon there. And again, either New York Stock Exchange have not yet cultivated or printed all-time high, but very, very similar price action, right? As to Russell 2000, we got the invert head and shoulder, well cultivated intermediate term higher lows. We're staying well above this important pivotal level there. Even if this thing pulls back, there's a great chance that it's gonna cultivate another higher low and continue into all-time high. So even though we don't have all the indices printed all-time high, we have a major indices. I mean, obviously S&P 500, Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, the Russell, not Russell, like Wilshire 5000, especially S&P Dow and the NASDAQ, which is a major index. When you watch CNBC, those three indices will be on TV screen. So those are the three major ones that people watch. So that's a good sign there. So the reason I get into this, so we have to understand the big picture. Sometimes we forget as the market starts to grind like this, and we tend to focus on minor term sentiment. But we understand that looking at a big picture, we're still in a bullish sentiment, the primary term and intermediate term, which we talked about on the last weekend update video. So going into minor term here, obviously we do have Bollinger Band squeezing. We have ADX completely rested. So the question will be then, which way will it break? Will it break to the upside, to the downside? for us, either way is fine. If it, we've been talking about either way, I have, plans for either way. So I really don't care which way it breaks. I just want to, I really don't mind if it's going to break tomorrow, next week. I really don't care at this point, because I don't mind just sitting and just kind of hanging around here while the market grinds. There are some stocks been, slowly grinding higher. So I think the question at this point is, obviously we've been talking about in this whole video, is it which way will it break? I think we probably have about 55% chance, and I've been talking about this, that it will break higher. 55% chance. That's just 5 more percentage higher than to the downside, but there's a 45 chance it could break lower. So it's really, I would have to say 50-50. I mean, we do have a kind of, we've been talking about this, bearish divergence type of action there. So put it all into perspective. We're on a primary term uptrend, intermediate term uptrend. We have a well-cultivated intermediate term uptrend. We've been squeezing. ADX is completely rested. We are staying above 10 and 20 EMA still as of today. You can see that we're 10 EMA there. We just looked at daily bearish divergence. It's not very potent, but it's there. We do have a little bit of shooting star, kind of very tiny one at that. So let me say this, 10-20 EMA still holding as support. We're still above it. 10 EMA has been acting as support last few weeks. 20 EMA acted as very, very strong support last few weeks here, since early August. So I would have to say that as long as we're above 10 and 20 EMA, the sentiment is bullish. Benefit of the doubt in the minor term goes to the buyers. But I think in the event that we lose 20 EMA right here about 2174 there, I think then there's a good chance they will come down and fill this gap right here at about 2164 if we lose 20 EMA, okay? 2065 on the S&P 500 index, 2065, right? And even if it comes down to 2165, that's still not yet, breakdown or breakout of Bollinger Bands. This thing needs to start getting up here for the Bollinger Bands to break out. For me to categorize the price action to, here, let me go back here. For me to categorize this as a Bollinger Band breakout, we will need the price action start to move higher and the Bollinger Band start to curve up, right? Same thing with even though if this thing fills this gap at 2159, that Bollinger Band will still be moving sideways. So really, this thing would have to come down for the Bollinger Band breakdown, come down either 2147, well below 2140, really. Then I think the Bollinger Band. So I think we're trading a tight range. We're dealing with a completely rested market. Either direction, either upside or downside. I do think that we may see some of the like a spike of move. It could be a spike of move to the upside or spike of move to the downside. At this point, 55-45, 55 upside, 45 downside. So kind of that's what I'm getting at here. So right now we're just chilling. We're just kind of hanging around and see how the market is going to behave. And then the longer it grinds like this, it is really exasperating the bears, the sellers, the market crash theorists, the Mark Faber, all those people, because the longer it grinds, like, because they want to see some action. And if we do see, some kind of a crash, or not crash, but some kind of a, fast decline, guess what? All those bears are going to start coming out and say, aha, I told you, Sen, we're going to have all these bears coming out and celebrating. But when that happens, obviously, we'll watch these two levels as a potential support, which I believe that it act as strong support, because it has been acted as a very, very strong pivot. Do you see this level? This is a very, very strong pivot. This is a lot of the congestion there. I assume that it's going to act as very, very strong support. And once we get to this vicinity, I'm just going to buy it. I'll just buy more Spider when you get to the level. I'll just buy more Russell. I'll just buy more not financial, but I'll just buy more Dow Jones. And I'll just probably buy up more Qs if we do see a bounce. So that's kind of the plan there. I just want to give you a quick update. We look like it was possibly going to have the bounce or the breakout, the Bollinger Band breakout today with the gap up, and then it looked like it was continuum, but we did fade towards the end of the night. We do have a shooting star like candle there, so we may see a little bit of folder down, but level to watch is 10 EMA, 20 EMA, and then this gap at 2164.